Hope. Hope. I need hope wherever I can get it. Okay. The only reason I'm holding this up is because I got stuff all over my desk. And everything's in disarray and chaos. Beautiful. Excellent. Anyway, do I look hot? It's very hot here in Costa Mesa. We don't have air conditioning in our little Costa Mesa house. Hopefully, I think the Sacramento house will have at least a measure of air conditioning, but we'll soon find out in a week or so. Anyway, I am hot. I am tired. And I just got back, Constance and I just got back from our first round of shopping. And, you know, usually I turn to, you know, one of my many weird books for inspiration and notes and things like that for my daily readings and stuff. But they're almost all pulled away. I mean, they're pulled off the shelf and boxed up. So today I'm relying on material that I'm finding in my Kindle. But anyway, which reminds me, shameless plug, almost all of my books are on Kindle. And you know that Kindle is far more inexpensive than paperback. So if you have a Kindle and you're thinking about a new Lon title, you might want to download it on your Kindle. Anyway, going through old diaries and everything else, I noticed over the years quite a few Goetia evocations that I've done. Some of them have been rollicking successes. Some of them have been knockdown, drag-out battles. And some have completely blown up in my face. But magic, like life, is a combination of successes, horrible failures, and disasters. But be that as it may, I wanted to talk just a little bit, because I gave myself a subject today, about Goetia Magic or Solomonic Magic. And I found a little thing here in my Kindle that talks about just that. And very, very, very early on, my good friends, Chick and Tabitha Cicero, invited me to be part of a book project that they were doing at the time, which was called the Golden Dawn Journal, and which was, I think there's 3 or 4 of them, and I was in, I think, 2 of them. And it was very nice of them to ask me to be a contributor, and I worked really hard on both of those articles. But one in particular I called Demons Are Our Friends. Now, that article in and of itself, which is it's a long article actually, has been picked up by other publishers and other anthologies, and I believe I read it in its entirety a few months ago when I first started reading the pandemic, my morning readings for the pandemic. But anyway, I get a lot of email questions concerning Goetia evocation or Solomonic Magic, because, you know, I've just been foolish enough to write about, say, I do it, you know. And And all the questions are very good, and they make me analyze what it is I think about it, and what my field theory really is. Because as I've told you early on in our talks in the morning, my opinions on things, especially things magical, are constantly, I hope, evolving. And things that I may have dogmatically believed and asserted just a few years ago might be something a bit different now. Not only does my experience and age, and from a position of hopefully more wisdom in life, I'm starting to see the big picture on a lot of things that I only was focused on small sections of before. I went at this, in this particular section that I'm going to read, was concerning the Knights Templar and what they were accused of doing as far as being sorcerers, black magicians, and such. And so I was examining some of the magical practices that were popular in the day, Solomonic Magic being foremost among those. And so just let me go on here. Among the most popular magical practices forbidden by the church were and are those whose literature and traditions would have us believe they originated with King Solomon. In fact, there's a whole school of magic known as Solomonic Magic, which encompasses a broad spectrum of techniques that range from making astrological talismans to conjuring demons and spirits into triangles, brass bottles, or other objects. It is called Solomonic because it is based on manuscripts pseudepigraphically attributed to the legendary king himself. It would be unwise for us to dismiss these documents as valueless just because we know they weren't written by King Solomon himself. As a matter of fact, the whole book that I'm taking this out of goes to pretty great lengths to demonstrate how there most likely wasn't a King Solomon as depicted in the Bible. Some source material boasts provenances of respectable antiquity. Some experts suggest anywhere from the 1st to the 7th century CE. Modern translations of several of the classics of Solomonic Magic are currently in print and grace bookshelves around the world, providing inspiration to new generations of serious students and practitioners. And a source of mischief for incautious would-be wizards. During the time the Templars resided in the Holy Land, however, such texts were only available in Hebrew and Arabic. Arguably, the most colorful and effective variety of Solomonic magic is known as Goetia, or G-O-E-T-I-A. Please pronounce it any way you want. And is found in the first of a collection of 5 books called the Lemegeton, or it's titled The Lesser Key of Solomon. What we know as Goetia is drawn from the text, The Lesser Key of Solomon. These papers are dated 1697 CE and appear to be one collector's attempt to have his favorite ancient texts of Solomonic magic copied and conveniently bound in a single folio. They bear evidence that their language has been modernized and that they were transcribed from far older manuscripts. The centerpiece of the Key of Solomon is a list of 72 spirits. Let's see. Yes. all those names in the black section there. Those are the 72 spirits of the Goetia. One for the day and one for the night of each decan of the zodiac. Okay. Let's see here. I lost my place. Hang on. Okay. Centerpiece of the Lesser Key of Solomon is a list of 72 spirits drawn from a number of ancient traditions and instructions, how they may be safely called forth. Each spirit is described in detail, along with special powers and abilities that supposedly can provide the magician. The second section of this book contains pertinent excerpts from this text. So I'm talking about the book, the Key to Solomon's Key, has pertinent sections of the Goetia. At first glance, Solomonic magic appears to have all the trappings of black magic. In fact, it's very much like a scene from a Gothic horror film. The magician first casts a circle on the ground or floor of the magic temple. This circle is protected by numerous names of God found in the Bible, along with the names of traditional archangels, angels, and Kabbalistic words of power. And I give an illustration. The magician, properly dressed and armed with a magic wand, stands in the center of the circle, and with the aid of pure will, magical words and gestures, he or she conjures a demon from the infernal regions into a magic triangle placed a few feet outside the circle. The triangle is also surrounded by 3 traditional words of power that'll keep the spirit trapped safely inside. The magician then compels the spirit to recognize him or her as its lord and master, then charges it to perform some task or tradition, some task that tradition and the book say the spirit is capable of executing. As you'll soon discover, the classic procedure is much more involved and complex than what I'm describing right now. But I think you get the general idea of what kind of magic this is. It all sounds pretty wild and dangerous. And in fact, it is. But before you jump to the conclusion that such an enterprise is the nadir of primitive superstition, I'd like for you to, for a moment, pause and view such an operation not as a magical ceremony, but as a psychological exercise. Now just consider this. Don't start quoting me that I'm saying this is all psychological. No, but it's part psychological. But I digress. View it, for a moment at least, as a psychological exercise, a psychodrama, whereby we call forth and isolate previously uncontrolled potentialities within ourselves and redirect their heretofore chaotic and destructive energies toward constructive ends. We do this naturally every time we exercise self-discipline to master a skill and bring out hidden talents. For example, when I was 12 years old, I wanted to play the guitar. Learning how to play the guitar was the object of my operation. In order to do that, I first had to conjure a guitar to visible appearance. This was actually accomplished by first invoking a divine power greater than myself, my parents. Then, by means of a program of intense prayer, or in my case, incessant whining, and sacred covenants, promises that I'd practice hard and eventually pay back the money. Finally, a real guitar finally materialized in my hands. I then created the magical circle by isolating myself from the myriad diversions of adolescence, while I focused intently upon the work at hand. Then I evoked, one by one, the demons of my uncoordinated hands and fingers and trapped them in a triangle of will, determination, and practice. Finally, I mastered the spirits of the melodies, the lyrics, the rhythms of the songs I wished to play, and made them my servants. Until I mastered these demons, I could not call myself a guitar player. I could not call myself a magician. Like a fellow craft mason, I was not yet a master. I did not yet have the King Solomon's pass to travel to foreign countries, neighborhood towns and cities, and earn a master mason's wages, play in a dance band and make $20 a night. Other personal demons are more dangerous and harder to master. Indeed, they can be deadly. How many of us can truthfully say that we've never allowed greed or jealousy or insecurity or lust or laziness to ruin a potential triumph? How many times have you said to yourself, I am my own worst enemy? These uncontrolled bad habits and character flaws could be personified as malicious spirits who pop up at the worst possible times to sabotage our best laid plans. Wouldn't we just love to master them and force them to work for our benefit instead of our undoing? Certainly from one perspective, the Goetia magician's hell is his or her own psyche, and the infernal spirits are portions of the unconscious mind or unbalanced and misfiring aspects of our emotional life. Up until the moment we evoked and redirected these demons, remain uncontrolled and undirected. The 72 spirits are cataloged in the Goetia and appear in the second section of this book. These spirits are convenient personifications of these various potential powers and abilities. What makes them dangerous is the fact that unless they're called forth and focused to labor, like Solomon's genie, labor in harmony with the magician's will, they will continue to run amok and work their mischief in our lives. This is precisely what magical tradition tells us Solomon did in order to gather a labor force to build the temple of God. But does this type of magic really work? I assure you it does. And that's where we'll leave it for today. I think we'll talk a little more about Goetia tomorrow. And until then, I'm going to change into some really sweaty old clothes and continue our shopping during this heat wave. Pray for me. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love and do will.